Hello students, in this video we can study about the kingdom fungi. Okay, let's move on to the videos or the slides. That is, a fungus is any member of the group of eukaryotic organisms and are classified under the kingdom fungi that include microorganisms such as mushrooms and yeast and as well as the molds. Now, some of the examples I have given here. There are so many. It's actually a group of large number of microorganisms. That's a fungi. You know that, right? They are the kingdom fungi. That is a group of eukaryotic organisms. And the word fungus is derived directly from the Latin word the fungus, that means the mushrooms. They are derived directly from the Latin word, that is a fungus, that means the mushrooms. And the study of fungi is known as a mycology. The study related to fungus, that is known as a mycology. And they have their cell wall and are omnipresent, that means they have a cell wall and are omnipresent, that means widespread. They are widely spread organisms, you can worldwide, and it is a unique kingdom of heterotrophs. That means it's a one of the unique kingdom that contain only heterotroph. Heterotroph means that you prepare or depends on other organism for their food, right? This is the unique kingdom of heterotrophs. And the fungus are the or fungi are the principal decomposers. That means they decomposes the dead or organic matters or leave on those. That's the decomposers in the ecological system. And you may also have observed that is a black spot on the bread. If you keep the bread outside for some days, you can see that there will be appearance of the black spot. That is actually the fungus growth. And the rotten fruits, if you kept outside for some days, if your fruits, if you kept some days, that's not the fresh fruits. If you kept the rotten fruits for in outside for some days, you can see that the black spots rises on that. And also sometimes you can see that some of the plants or the leaves, you can see that a white spots can be observed, right? The white spot that have observed on the some of the leaf of the plants, like examples the mustard leaves or the corn, maize, etc. you can see are due to the parasitic fungus. And the mushroom yeast cells used to make beer and bread are also fungus. That is the fungus, that is mushroom yeast. These are we are usually used to make the beer and bread. So that is also a fungus. That is the mushrooms yeast cells that are used to make the beer and bread are also a fungus. And then the fungus causes the diseases in the plants and animals, mainly the skin infections. They mainly causes skin infections, that is in the plants and animals. And some of the fungus that can be used as source of antibiotics, for instance the penicillium, penicillium, Chrysogenum notatum. These are some of the groups of fungus that is actually used as a source of antibiotics. For the medical purposes we are using the fungus. And some species of fungus that also produces a mycotoxin, that the toxin produced by this fungus are called as a mycotoxin. Not the all strains are causing, but some species may causes the not the causes, produces the these toxins, and they are actually toxic to animals including the humans. And they also show a great diversity, various morphological forms and habitats, right? That's it. They show a great diversity in their morphology as well as the habitat. And they grow in the multiple habitat. That's a habitat, if you say, means they are not stick on to one single place. They don't have a single habitat. They actually grow in the multiple habitat. And in fact, they grow in every environment available habitat where organic matter, live or dead, is found. That is, doesn't matter about what kind of matter it is a living or dead, but these fungus will grow there. And they are, most of them are terrestrial and some are found as aquatic forms and considered as a primitive. That is, they are found in the terrestrial, but some are aquatic forms are also seen and are considered to be the primitive. And you can see this fungus will grow also or found in the drinking water. They also contaminate our food and water. They present all time in the air we breathe, either as the fungal forms or the hyphal forms, or you can see in the as a spore forms. These are present all time in the air we breathe. And the fungus prefer to grow, mainly they love to grow in the or prefer to grow in the place there is a damp, there is a little moisture is available, and the dark area and also humid places. if the three conditions are available and they love to grow in that area. That is a multiple habitat available in every habitat wherever they can organic matter living or dead is found. They are mostly terrestrial, but some of the aquatic forms can be seen and considered to be the primitive. They also pollute or found in the drinking water. They contaminate our food and water, and the air we breathe in contains all time this fungus is present, and they prefer to grow in the damp, dark and humid places. And the structure of the fungus, next is the structure of the fungus. The fungi have a filamentous structures. You can see that elongated the filamentous structures except the yeast form, which is a unicellular form, and its shape is actually in the oval. That is, the fungus or the fungi are filamentous structure. They have a filamentous structures, elongated structures, except the yeast. Yeast is a unicellular forms as well as a oval shape. They are not the filamentous structures. They have the oval shaped body, and they can either, this fungus can either be unicellular and multicellular. The same example we told that unicellular means yeast is for, that is a yeast form, that is they are the not the filamentous, but they are the unicellular forms. Multicellular forms can be seen in the case of fungus or fungi, and they have the thallus-like structures. That is, body is not differentiated. They have a thalli-like structure, or the body is thalli-like structure or thallus-like structures they resemble. That is, the body is not differentiated into, that is root, stem, leaves, like that is not differentiated. And the cell wall of fungi or fungi are composed of chitin and polysaccharides. The cell wall of fungi are composed of chitin and the polysaccharides. And the smallest fungus, that is the yeast, are oval shaped and are microscopic and are unicellular. The smallest fungus is the yeast, are oval shaped, then unicellular and microscopic. And fungi are simple thalli-like organisms, that we said in the last slide. They said they have the simple thalli-like organisms which are not differentiated into root, stem and leaf-like structures. They don't have specific leaf, stem or root-like differentiations. The cell of the most fungi grow as a tubular, elongated and the thin branch thread-like structures. They have a filamentous or tubular elongated structure called hyphae. That's very important. That is a cells of the fungi grow as a tubular, elongated and a thin branched thread-like structure called hyphae, and many hyphae join together, or network of the hyphae called as a mycelium. That is, many hyphae join together to form a network, or the network of the hyphae is called as the mycelium. This hyphae may be septate or aseptate. Aseptate means they don't have the septum or the crosswall or separations. Septate means they have the crosswall or compartmentalization can be seen in the hyphae. That is, fungus structure, they are the thalli-like organisms that they are differentiated into root, stem or leaf-like structures. And the cell of the most fungi grow as a elongated, tubular, thin branched thread-like structure or filamentous structure called as a hyphae. Network of hyphae called as a mycelium, and the hyphae may be septate or aseptate. And some of the other structures that can be seen in a fungus is a rhizoid. They are similar to the roots, or resembles the roots actually. And there is a short thin filament found in fungi and in certain plants and sponges that anchor the growing body of the organisms to the substratum, that helps as an anchor or holding this organism firmly onto the substrate where they are living, or the structures where they are living. For that purpose, here it is, rhizoid is a thin filament found in the fungi, and they are sometimes capable of absorbing nutrients. Okay, but in the case of fungi, the rhizoid is found in the thallus and resembles a root. Okay, they resembles a root in the case of fungi. And the sporangiophore, it is actually a type of hyphae that bearing the sporangium. That is, it is also an aerial hyphae. Actually, it is a aerial hyphae and bearing the sporangium. And they are reproductive mycelia. They are acting as a reproductive mycelia, and it produces asexual spores by the process of mitosis. And the spores produced are known as sporangiospores. That is, sporangiophore is that is a hyphae that bearing the sporangium. Inside the sporangium, there you can see the spores. So that spore produced the spores are known as sporangiospores. Why they are called sporangiospores? Because these spores are produced inside the sporangium. That is why it is called as sporangiospores, and the sporangium bearing hyphae is called as the sporangiophore. And the columella is also present in the structure. They are the centrally vacuolated part of the hyphae bearing spores. There is a hyphae bearing spores is there, right? That is a sporangiophore. That central part, that is a vacuolated part of the hyphae is called as the columella. And you can see the symbol structure. This is the structure of the mucor. There are the rhizopus. That is, you can see that here he said the hyphae is there, right? The filamentous tubular elongated structures is called as the hyphae, and this network of hyphae, that is called as the mycelium. And this hyphae may be septate or aseptate hyphae are there, and the rhizoid is there. I told you the rhizoid, they are the root like structure that resembles the root in the case of the fungus, that helps the fungus to, this is a substrate or the substratum, that is a that is it growing the media, growing is called substratum, and this rhizoid helps this fungus to hold on to the substratum, okay, and sometimes absorb the nutrients. And you can see that this is the sporangiophore, that is the aerial hyphae or the spore bearing hyphae or the reproductive mycelium is called as a sporangiophore. And on the sporangiospore, that you can see the sporangium, this sac like structure is called sporangium. Inside the sporangium you can see the spores are there, see small circular shaped spores are there, and see is a one sporangium burst out and the spores blown away, okay. And there is a columella, you can see this the vacuolated structures, that is the vacuolated part, central part of the hyphae, that is a vacuolated, is called a columella, that is that feeds the spores, that parts actually feed the spores. And next in the septate hyphae, I told you the hyphae may be septate or aseptate, and the septate means there may be compartmentalization of the division is called the cross walls, that is called a septa, that you can see, that is a septate hyphae. Hyphae are divided into compartments separated by the cross walls, and these cross walls are called as the septa, that are formed at right angles to the cell wall, giving a hyphae its shape, and with each compartment containing one or more nuclei. That is, in septate hyphae are divided into compartments separated by the cross walls, with each compartment containing one or more nuclei. Septae have also, there is a pores that present at the center of the septae that allow the cytoplasm, organelles and sometimes nuclei to pass through. That is the purpose of this pores. They have to pass the cytoplasm, they are passing to each other. There is a hole at the center of the septate that allows the cytoplasm, organelles and sometimes nuclei to pass through. Aseptate hyphae are not compartmentalized, that means there is no cross walls or no septa presented, they are not separated. And aseptate fungi, in aseptate fungi, hyphae are multinucleated and are called cenocytic. That is, aseptate hyphae are not compartmentalized, that means there is no cross walls, no septa, no division or no separations, right. And this, in aseptate fungi, hyphae are multinucleated, okay, multinucleated and are called cenocytic. See the structure of the septate hyphae. You can see the septate hyphae, there is a cross walls or septa is there, and the center of the septa there is a pore is there, and each compartment or each cell contains a nucleus is there, right. And this is a hyphae. Then hyphae have in the septum, that is each part, septa means a plural form, the septum is there, and you can see the cell wall is there. Then centrally on the septa there is a pore present. Each septum or each compartment contains a nucleus, and this is a cenocytic hyphae, that is the hyphae is not compartmentalized, that means there is no cross walls. You can see the cell wall here, nucleus here, hyphae is a, so there is no division or no separations, so that means it is a multinucleated hyphae. They are called cenocytic hyphae. And the cell wall comprises a protoplasm which are differentiated into other cell parts such as cell membrane, cytoplasm, cell organelles and nuclei. That is, a protoplasm is present in the cell wall. That is, the presence of this protoplasm that helps to differentiate the other parts of the cells. that is like a cell membrane, cytoplasm, cell organelles and nuclei. That is actually possible with the help of the protoplasm, not the protoplasm, protoplast. And the nucleus is a dense, clear with a chromatin threads and a nuclear membrane surrounds the, this is eukaryotic, right? Eukaryotic means true nucleus. That means there is a nuclear membrane around the nucleus. That is, a nucleus is actually a dense nucleus, clear nucleus that is a chromatin threads and a nuclear membrane that surrounds this nucleus. And the fungal cell contain all membrane bound cell organelles such as ribosomes, mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi complex, etc. like other eukaryotes, but chloroplasts are not found in them. That is, one thing missing is the plastids, and another one is the main part is the chloroplast is not found. That is, each fungal cell contain all the membrane bound cell organelles such as ribosomes, mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi complex, etc. like all other eukaryotic cells, but chloroplasts are not present in them or not found. This is a cell structure of a individual cell structure of a yeast. Okay, you can see that peroxisome is there, ribosome is there, endoplasmic reticulum is there, nucleolus is there. This is a nucleus, inside the nucleolus, then vacuole present. This is a bud scar. Okay, and the mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, cytoplasm, and here is a, this is a budding yeast cells. Is a another new bud is formed. Reproductive, it is actually in the reproductive phase. So this is a newly formed small bud. You can see the septa, there is a compartmentless or separations you can see. This is also the cell membrane is there, and in between cell wall is there, then vesicles are present. So these are the cell of the fungal cell. Individual fungal cells contain all the membrane bound organelles including the nucleus. Okay. And the characteristic of fungi, that is, the fungi are eukaryotic, that we discussed, right? Eukaryotic, they are non-vascular, they are non-motile and are heterotrophic. They don't have chloroplast, right? And they may be unicellular or multicellular or filamentous forms. And the cell was made up of chitin, cellulose or both. Chitin biosynthesis occurs in the fungi as it has a chitin present on the cell wall. And the fungi lack, these fungus usually lack the chlorophylls, that is, they are called as echlorophyllous. Hence, they cannot perform the photosynthesis and cannot prepare their own food. That is why these fungus are called heterotroph, because they don't have the chlorophyll. The chlorophyll is absent in the fungi, and because of the absence of this chlorophyll, they are called echlorophyllous. And as a result of this, they cannot perform the photosynthesis, so that they cannot prepare own food. And the fungal nucleus are very small, and fungus are either saprophytic or parasitic. And the plastids are also not found in their cells. They reproduce by means of the spores and develop from the spores. They actually reproduce by the means of spores. Spores are spreaded from one place to another by air current or any other mechanical or the natural way. They are spread from one place to another, and new plants are, the new fungus are developed from this spores. That is, they reproduce by means of spores and develop from the spores. And they found everywhere where organic matter is found, especially where the organic matter is found. Most of them are terrestrial, some inhabits a cell of the living organism and some are aquatic. And they absorb food and other substances either through the entire surface of the mycelium or by the rhizoid. They absorb food and other substances through the entire surface of the mycelium or sometimes by the rhizoid. And they usually store the food in the form of starch or glycogen oil droplets. Okay, and they reproduce by means of spores and develop from the spores. And they have three types of reproduction: vegetative reproduction, asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. They possess three types of reproduction: asexual, sexual and vegetative. And in some forms of plant body is unicelled at one stage and the mycelial at other stage, and their organization is sometimes described as dimorphic. That is, in some forms, in some fungus, the plant body or their structures is actually unicelled at one stage and mycelial at other stage, and this organization is described as a dimorphic. They are actually having as a both, that's a unicellular stage as well as the mycelial forms, that is called dimorphic. Di means two, morphic means morphological, double morphological, two morphological forms, they appear as a single body. It may be non-mycelial or mycelial, that is they have mycelia or without mycelia. The non-mycelial forms are usually unicellular. If they don't have the mycelia, they usually have unicellular forms. They form, however, when at the time of reproduction, they usually produce pseudomycelium by budding. For budding, they usually forms the pseudomycelium. And in mycelial forms, the body of the fungus is made up of thread-like structure called hyphae. That is single, that's a hypha, as yeast, mold and mushrooms. And this is actually the hyphal structures. In this hyphal, fungal hyphal cells also you can see that hyphal wall is there, septum is there, you can see this septum is there, then the mitochondria, here you can see the vacuoles present, then ergosterol crystals is there, then ribosomes, these small circular forms are ribosomes, this, here is a nucleus is present, then endoplasmic reticulum, see the endoplasmic reticulum, then lipid body, then plasma membrane and Golgi apparatus, etc. can be seen in the fungal hyphal cells structures. And the kingdom fungi, there is a reproduction in the fungus, or the reproduction in the fungus, the vegetative reproductions, that is mainly by fragmentation, fission and budding. You can see the vegetative reproduction, that is mainly by the fragmentation, fission and budding. And the asexual mode of reproduction by the spore formation, that called the conidia or sporangiospores or zoospores, that is asexual reproduction mainly by the spores, that's called conidia or sporangiospores or zoospores. And sexual reproduction is by the oospores. Sexual reproduction is by the oospores, ascospores and basidiomycetes. That is, sexual reproduction is by the oospore, ascospores and basidiomycetes. Vegetative reproduction, fragmentation, fission and budding. Asexual reproduction by the spores called conidia, sporangiospores or zoospores. And sexual reproduction is by the oospores, ascospores and basidiomycetes. Sexual cycles involve three steps, that is plasmogamy, karyogamy and meiosis. Sexual cycle involve the three steps plasmogamy, karyogamy and meiosis. Spore developed in fruiting bodies. Spores usually develop on the fruiting bodies. And the classification of the fungus. Next is the classification of the fungus. The fungi are classified mainly based on their mode of nutrition, spore formation and the morphological structures. And here it is usually classified, mainly classified based on the two characteristics, mode of nutrition and the spore formations. In the mode of nutrition, it is divided into three, that is saprophytic, parasitic and symbiotic. And the case of spore formation, based on the spore formations, they are Zygomycetes, Ascomycetes, Basidiomycetes and Deuteromycetes. That is based on the mode of nutrition, saprophytic, parasitic and symbiotic, and based on the spore formation, Zygomycetes, Ascomycetes, Basidiomycetes and Deuteromycetes. And the nutrition in the fungi, that is saprophytic, parasitic and symbiotic, right? The saprophytic means they are obligate saprophyte. They are the strict saprophyte. They live on the dead organism only. Example, Rhizopus, Mucor, Penicillium. Facultative means they may be, there is a absence or presence of the saprophyte. As a facultative, they may be either may or may not. That is a facultative. That is Taphrina and Phytophthora. And the parasitic, they are the obligate parasite. Obligate means only parasitic. They are living inside the other organism. That is only parasitic. Saprophytic means dead organic matter. Puccinia, Syncytium are the examples of the obligate parasite, and the facultative parasites are Fusarium, Pythium, etc. And the symbiotic, they move in a mutual understanding. Both got the beneficial with the mycorrhiza and lichens or the lichens. And first one, based on the mode of nutrition, fungi are classified as the first one saprophytes. They are the heterotrophic and obtain the nutrient from dead organic matter. That is, First mode of the nutrition, first one is the saprophytes. They are the heterotrophic. They cannot prepare their own but depend on other organisms and obtain mainly nutrient from the dead organic substrate. Example, aspergillus, rhizopus and penicillium. And the parasitic, they depend on other living organisms, that is plants and animals, for their nutrition by living on them and absorb nutrient from their host. It's actually saprophytic and parasitic. Saprophytic, they live on the dead organic matter or dead organic substances for their food. They obtain the food from dead, or they are also heterotroph. And the parasitic, they are also heterotroph, that depends on the other organism for their nutrition, that is by living on them and absorbing nutrients from their host. Example, Tephrida and Puccinia. And symbiotic, in the case of symbiotic, they live in association with other species in which both are beneficial. Okay, in the parasitic forms, they are actually, one is harmed, they get all the nutrients are absorbed. But in the saprophytic, they are living on the dead. In the symbiotic, the both are benefited. They are actually going in like a mutual understanding. For instance, lichens and the mycorrhiza. Here lichens are symbiotic association between algae and fungi. That is, here the lichens and mycorrhiza, lichens usually have a symbiotic association between the algae and fungi. Both algae and fungi are mutually benefited as a fungi, or the fungi provides shelter for the algae, and in reverse, algae synthesis carbohydrate for fungi. That is, lichens usually symbiotic association between the algae and fungi. That is, both the algae and fungi are mutually benefited. How they are benefited? As fungi provide shelter for the algae. There is a home for the algae. They can live there. It's a sheltering. Okay. And in reverse, algae synthesis carbohydrate for fungi. They are providing this carbohydrate for the fungi. And mycorrhiza is a symbiotic association present between the fungi and plants. Mycorrhiza is symbiotic association between the fungi and plants. Fungi improves nutrient uptake by the plants, whereas plant provides sugar to the fungus. That is, fungi that improve nutrient uptake by the plants is helpful by increasing the or improving the nutrient uptake, whereas a plant provide sugar to the fungus. And this is actually about the reproduction of the not the reproduction, the fungus. Okay, and this part is actually first part. The next part I will actually discuss in the next video, as it is a lengthy video. Is now already it is 22 slides, so I don't want to make it to a lengthy video. So I actually divided the part of the fungus into kingdom fungi into two part. Okay, so the next video I will upload soon, and bye.